Hello my dear friends, this is a PaintyKat. My name is Catherine and today we're going to paint snowdrops flowers. I'm starting with basic layer of clear white. Be sure you add enough water. This layer have to be really thin. We're going to paint white flowers on white snow because snowdrop flowers usually starting to bloom while we still have snow on the ground. Next step, we're going to create a snow. It's not just white, of course. Snow have some shadows on it. I'm going to mix cobble blue plus ultramarine plus a little bit of black because we don't need a really bright and shiny blue. We need kind of pastel shade of blue. Mix it well. Stamp it on palette first. And be sure you don't put too much water in your paint. Paint have to be hard dry. Stamp it on the palette first. Be sure it's really just a stamp. That's it, I'm starting. Sponge I'm using at the moment have about 1 centimeter diameter. I mixed middle shade of blue. It's not too dark, but it's not bright. And I'm stamping not everywhere. You remember, we already have first layer of white, so I just don't need to cover with blue the whole area of my paper. At the moment, I'm going up, and top part of my painting, the background, have to be really light here. So I just mixed more white in my shade of painting. Just more white. And look, I'm not covering the part in the center of my future painting. This is easy work, especially if you already painted with me. The previous tutorial we were painting crocus flowers and the background was just the same. At the moment, look, I'm mixing much darker shade. It's still cobble blue plus ultramarine plus black. Really deep and nice shade. And now, look, there is no much water in it. I'm stamping area in the center. And this is place where my future snowdrops flowers will be growing. I have sharp line on foreground, but as soon as I'm going up, I have to create gradient. So I'm starting to mix more and more white, and I'm creating gradient on all the way up. This is snow background. Now I'm going to use a rough brush. It's a natural bristle brush. I removed the pole because I'm working the same way as I did with my sponge. I'm stamping and I'm creating better looking sharp line between dark area and light area of snow on the foreground. Again, don't put too much water on your paint. This way it will be really easy to stamp. Same color and the same brush, but another technique of paint. It's a spraying. I like to have here lots of small dots. In my opinion, it's giving a really nice snow feeling. It's very easy technique. And we used simple clear white. Now mix a little bit of yellow and white. Imagine we painting spring snow, and some sparkles can be sun shining, and sun color is bright light yellow. Now I knock this brush on my hand to create bigger dots. And this is a round brush. Now I'm creating a really big dots. Not everywhere, but it's still not clear white, it's bright light yellow. I want to have a feeling of early spring on my painting. Also, some parts of snowdrop flowers will have yellow on it, so it will be really looking good together. I'm just slightly touching. Now we moving to the next step. I'm mixing dark green just on same area on palette where I was working before. It's mix of white plus yellow plus green, not mix all colors together too well. I using at the moment a short slanted flat brush. All links for brushes, materials I'm using on this tutorial you can find by following links below. Today we're going to work with a contrast, and look, I'm started with light green because background behind it was dark. Now I'm painting a top part of leaves and the background behind them really light, so I mixed more dark green. And I'm painting now from top to bottom. Now I want to plan how this group of flowers going to grow. Some main, some big leaves I'm painting. It's a leaves, big leaves, and I think I already have enough of it. So on my palette I mixed cobble blue plus dark green, no any black here, and I'm painting parts calling receptacle. This is a part of snowdrop from where petals going to grow in the future. Before we will paint white adorable petals, we have to plan places for it. I'm mixing a really dark shade, but again no black. I put a little bit more water. Really dark shade, darker than background behind it. receptacles are oval shaped, so I'm using a classical watercolor brush, very handy here. Just imagine small flowers going to grow out of each this detail. I didn't create any sketch before I started to paint with my paints, but if you need it, if you better prefer classical way where you have a sketch as first step of tutorial, you're welcome on my Patreon. There you can find sketches from all my tutorials and from this one as well. Sketches as a first step can be really handy, especially if you have no experience in paintings without sketches. Now, when all receptacles blend, I'm creating a really thin stems from each of them. Brush I'm using really small, it's number 1 now. Don't be in a rush, have patience. We have lots of details, many flowers, so plan at least 1 hour to paint the whole composition. Shade for stems can be very, very dark. And now even you can mix a little bit of black to create a really, really dark shade for these details. Now the shape of flower group already visible enough, right? We planned places for each flowers already, so at this step we can fill this group of plants with additional details. It's a short dark leaves, it's some green stripes. These details giving more visible volume for this group of plants. Very dark shade, very dark color. As I told you, at this step you can add a little bit of black because it's very deep area of this group of flowers. There we have really, really deep shadow. Now I'm mixing a light shade, it's green plus yellow plus white, and we're working with the light details. Brush I have kind of small, number 1. Don't blend this light shade too well. At area where I'm living, snowdrops, it's forest flowers, and the light there usually, patchy. So it's really spots of light on my flowers. I'm not going to blend it on each detail. This way, light will look more natural. It's, just a touch of sun. Also, for leaves, some light edges. This shade of green looking really fresh. Stems we painting here are curved, and we have to be patient enough to paint it slow, to keep shapes of stems accurate. I have very dark leaves here and light green, looking here very contrasted. Be careful with the stems, really curved. Now check, probably some stems not connected to the leaves. I just fixed two of them, and we're going to move to the next step, and this is petals of flowers. Snowdrops are white, but first we have to create petals in a shadow. I mixed very pastel blue. It's a black plus blue plus white. And shape of brush I'm working at the moment, it's big watercolor brush. It's have very pointy tip, but this brush can handle lots of paint. And look, each petal I creating with just one long stroke. Don't work with the short brushes because short brush can't handle enough of paint on it. Each petal, just one stroke, one long stroke, and look, petals at the moment kinda dark, isn't it? It's looking contrasted enough on left side of these flowers because there they have dark background, and also contrasted enough when I have light background. It's a middle shade of grayish blue. Now I'm going to work with a brush number 0, very small one, because now it's really my favorite part. I really adore to work with details. We can add some white stripes, some white details on, especially on petals where we have dark background. Don't put too many. Also, on this step, you can fix some shapes of petals. You know, some petals can look not natural, maybe too short. So at this step, you can fix everything you don't like. As you can notice, I painted with a dark shade just 1 or 2 petals on each flower. Let's put some deeper shadows inside, and now it's a time for clear white. Same brush. Just be sure you really cleaning brushes well. You need no any influence of blue or gray or black on your brush. Just really bright, fresh white. And again, one stroke, one petal. And this turn this time you're painting 3 petals on each flowers. You can count, for example, if you already painted 1 dark, so 2 others have to be just white. Look how fresh, how bright these white petals looking at the moment. That's because we were really patient. We worked well with all previous steps. Each stroke 1 petal. We didn't use clear white before. That's why this white now sound looking very contrasted. I really recommend time by time make 1 or 2 steps back and check if your flowers looking natural, looking well. Exact shape of each petals depends from our hands. So even if you're following the same steps as I did on my painting, you'll get a different flowers in details. And this is awesome, I think, because each painting will be unique. I'm adding at the moment some white stripes on edges, mostly for dark petals. And somewhere inside of flowers, maybe I want to see the deeper shadows in it. So I mixed darker shade of grayish blue. This detalization step really depends from shades of paints you mixed on your painting. That's why I recommend to step 1-2 steps back and check it from the distance. From the distance we can understand better how composition looking in general. If some areas needs detalization, deeper shadow inside a flower, or maybe more light, more white petal area, it's possible to correct. But when we working, we painting, and we always looking too close, we have a risk over detail our flowers really easy, but this way we can lose the common shapes of flowers. That's it. I'm just put a little bit more white in some areas, and that's it. Remember, from the start of this tutorial I told you these small flowers really not easy to paint because it's have too much details on each flower, and it's true. Imagine inside of each flower we have another small tiny petals, and these petals have heart shape. Imagine the pointy area of heart attached to the receptacle inside a flower, and round shaped area of heart hanging down. And the size of this heart-shaped detail is half of petal. Size of it really tiny. I really hope I explaining different parts of snowdrops really well for you. Actually, I didn't saw real one snowdrops in wild nature. A couple of times I saw a little compositions with these flowers. As I know, at the moment it's possible to grow snowdrops in greenhouses, and this way we still can have it in a flower compositions, but keep the wild snowdrops there where they grow. These heart-shaped details usually have a really bright shining green color. I have it not everywhere visible, as you can check now. I have to wait at this step while my painting will be completely dry, so I will sign my work at the moment. And now it's 30 minutes have passed, and I can complete detailizations of this heart-shaped details inside of each flowers. This is important because I want to have inside of snowdrops really bright green colors, and if I'm painting while white around still wet, it's mixing together with green, and green can easily lose saturation. So please just be sure your work at the moment completely dry, and we only working with the tiny details. I put small green dots in each small heart-shaped details, and now I'm lining around and this is the last detail in flowers. This edge have to be very white and contrasted. Looking nice, isn't it? And again, so simple looking flowers and so many details to paint. I did 30 minutes break, but of course it can be longer if you need it. And in this time our view getting more fresh, and we can check better if we have something to fix on this step at the moment. In general, I'm happy enough with the shapes of white petals. I like how it's looking. Blending a little bit some details. And also I want to create a little shadow between some receptacles and flowers. Not everywhere. Just 2 or 3 flowers. I fixed all stems. I really like how it's looking at the moment, and now it's time to put these small leaves on the each stem very close to flowers. Yes, snowdrop flower have long, very thin stem, and very, very, very small and thin leaf. On top part of it, close to the flower. So many details here. Hopefully you enjoyed this tutorial and your snowdrop flowers will blooming on your paintings in this day of snowdrops. You most welcome join me on Patreon. There you can find sketches for all my tutorials. Also, don't be shy to share to me your paintings. If you need any help or you have questions on my tutorials, you can ask me there. Subscribe please. It was a PaintyKat and I wish you all the best. Bye bye.